afternoon, Sonor family. This is Julian, and today we've got John from Angel City Drum Works. He texts for Tal Bergman in the studio, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about working with Tal, find out a little bit about his business otherwise, and maybe a little bit about his preferred gear. Welcome, sir.
Hey, hey, hey. How you
How,
doing,
man, if I was any better, I'd be twins. How are you?
Joe? As big as twins.
Hey, we won't go there. Um,
Right.
so how long have you been in business?
Angel City started in 2007.
And what do you do there?
We do cartage, rentals. Cartage means, getting the drummer's gear to the studio, setting it up, and rentals. We do teching for producers and for drummers, in the studio or even here if somebody just wants to bring their drums in and get them tweaked.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just running around to the LA studios and making sure things sound good, and that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. So as far as renting gear out and all that, is there a preferred brand?
Um, I'd say the most requested stuff would be vintage Ludwig kits or vintage Gretsch kits for
Really?
use. That's really the most requested stuff. And then as snare drum world, it would be a Tama Bell Brass, Ludwig Black Beauty, Ludwig Supra, and then like a lot of the guys like some like old like WFL wood drums that we kind of keep all gushy and ballady,
Hmm.
and we hardly ever change the heads, and like it's got a big sheet of paper on it, and it just does that Eagles sound really well. But like we've got so many snare drums, it's ridiculous. And to say like, besides the top three that I listed there, everything else goes out. It's just it's like salt and pepper and cayenne pepper and whatever else you need to sprinkle on stuff.
Sure. So just shooting from the hip, how many snare drums roughly do you think you have there?
That's part of them.
Yeah,
So I would say there's a couple, few hundred.
gotcha. And not really any sonar in the building, is that right?
I do have a martini kit we have for fun, which we keep set up almost all the time. And but yeah, I haven't had sonar as a rental. Um, Tal keeps his sonar gear here, but that doesn't go out for anybody else but Tal. And currently Tal's the only sonar endorsee here. We take care of about 20 some odd drummers. That's my experience with sonar. Well, I did own a Highlight exclusive kit in the early 90s
Hmm.
that unfortunately I don't have any pictures of. It's like I had bought it and I was touring with it like as a player, and it it was awesome, but it's like back in the day you'd go through gear pretty quickly, like, oh, I need money this week. I'm starving.
Yep.
But that was an interesting kit. It was 24, 10, 13, 18. Somebody had special ordered it at Pro Drum and then couldn't Pro Drum in Hollywood, and then decided like they didn't want to make pay off the rest of it or something. So somehow they gave me a great deal on it because I used to play 24, 13, 18 as my preferred sizes. And so it was great to have. The only thing was, it was like as a touring kit in a van, it kind of, being black lacquer, it kind of got chipped up pretty good. Obviously we're in cases, but like just like throwing up and down off stages, like being the opening act, you know,
Mhm.
stuff gets pretty beat up. So that was a shame with that, because I wish I still had it, because it would be amazing to find a few other sizes for it. And then yeah, but I go down the list of stuff that I've sold that I'm sorry I've sold, and that definitely is up there with it.
Yeah.
On
So the kit you're holding there for Tal, is that a vintage series like at home, or is it a different series?
he's got he's got his vintage kit is at his studio, and he's got another kit. I can't remember which one. It was one that he was playing with Joe Bonamassa on the road. Um,
The kind of gunmetal gray?
Yep, exactly. It's a pretty big kit. And then the kit he has here, I'm really not sure of the series, but it's older. It's like from, I'm guessing, mid 90s or 2000, early 2000s. And it's a silver sparkle kit. And it just works all the time. It just, you just set it up and it's like, oh, that sounds perfect. It's funny when he first got his vintage kit, they arrived here at the shop and we took them out of the boxes and put them on stands. And literally, without touching the kit, it was like, well, there's a drum set. It just sounded amazing out of the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty remarkable. And like we deal with a lot of different kinds of drums, and it's very rare something happens like that where it's just like, wow, this thing is perfect. Like even right out of the box, it would be great to have that around here, but he uses it at his, in his uh, personal studio all the time. So
So how do you like his artist bronze snare drums? He swears by those.
I swear by it too. I mean, it ranks right up there with, you know, early 80s Tom Bell brass. Like it's like it's so good. It's 6 by 14.
Right.
It's 6.5, but like, yeah, I mean that drum, it's just always amazing. You can go high, low, whatever with it, and it's it makes you sound better as a tuner instantly because it just kind of, whatever you do to it, it just sounds great. And then also as a player, I mean, it it's just feels so good to play because it's super responsive, but it's super, it cuts, but it's got like a darkness to it too, which is like a lot of drums, like you can crank up and make it cut through guitars, but they don't really have much body. And this thing, it's just all stays there. No matter how much you crank it, it still has great body. It's like holy grail drums. Bell brasses in particular are just, yeah. It's kind of like a desert island thing. It's like if you had one drum like that brass/bronze drum that Tal uses would definitely be. You could definitely have that as your only snare.
Yeah. Well, he said he uses it on 99% of whatever he does.
Right. I,
And
I believe it. Yep.
I don't know why they don't have him in advertising with that thing, as much of an advocate for it as he is.
And like a lot of people are making them now, but like it's like Sonar's reputation with it. It just precedes it. It's just like, the horse link stuff but that drum in particular that Tal uses, I think it's definitely one of the greats in the snare drum. Like if there was like a top 10 great snare drum that I would have on my list, it would definitely be in there for sure.
Yeah. So have you ever thought about getting one of your own to play or
I actually do have one, but I would gladly, get more Sonar drums. They have to make a vintage series snare, I would think, right?
yeah, and it sounds killer.
I kind of drool over the vintage series kits ever since Tal brought that one into the shop, and it was just I'll see him on Reverb or something. I'm like, oh man, I should get that, and then it's just like it would be more for me than for anything just to have. But I run into trouble with that a lot, spending money on drums. Like it's weird how drum shops have disappeared too. It's just kind of frightening, but there are great ones out there. I run across them sometimes when I'm out on the road, and it's great to see that they're still there. You can look at stuff all day long in a catalog or online or whatever, but like there's nothing like having your hands on it and actually just seeing what it feels like. Because it's like when I'm selling stuff on Reverb, like a lot of times I'll help guys thin stuff out because like everyone's got the same disease. It's like they just keep buying stuff and then realize, wait a minute, I've got like 35 snare drums. I
Hmm.
gotta figure this out. Yeah, my transmission just went. I gotta figure this out. So, but it's hard to describe drums online, and a lot of times I'm torn because we'll try to list them as like this is fresh out of the studio for this drummer, and like we're selling it like it is. Then you get everybody commenting, "Wow, look at the tape on it! Wow, look at the old head." It's just like, yeah, but I'm selling it like it's just, imagine it's a race car. It just came off the track, and that's what
Mhm.
you're buying. You're not buying, a brand new car. So
Yeah.
it's just hard to describe to people, but especially, drums are so, everyone is an individual, so it's just like Black Beauties are really guilty of that. um I guess it's a great thing, but like everyone is completely different, especially when you get in the studio and under mics. It's like you're like, wow, that's a good one, and there's kind of no rhyme or reason to it, because it's like, everyone's like, oh, I need a 70s one, or it's like, you know what, some of the new ones I have are just as good or greater. It just depends on the individual drum. I guess I went in circles there, but I guess that's why I'm glad there's still drum shops like Pro Drum. Who's in Fresno?
Bentleys.
Bentley's, and there was another one I just went to a while ago. I was doing something up by Skywalker Ranch. Like Erskine was up there recording, and I just took a drive around, and I found this great in Encinitas, I think. God, I can't. I feel like I should be giving all these guys shout outs, because it's great when you walk into one and you're like, oh my God, like this is awesome. Like I was in Memphis a while back, and I went into the great shop there, which I can't now, I'm blanking on the name, but
Well,
it
there's
was,
Memphis Drum Shop. Is that the one?
yeah. And thank you. Wow, that was a hard one to remember.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, it's like a museum, pretty incredible. And like, it's hard, like when I'm surrounded by, like, all these drummers have great drums, and then we've got great drums as rental gear. A lot of times when I go into a place or go to NAM or something, I'm like, I don't know. It's like I'd rather go back to my shop and look at the stuff there, you know. But it's like we're not a store, so it's like, yeah. But it's still great to look around. You mentioned Tal, like, if like, I mean, the reason we're talking is Tal, so I just want to give him a bit of a shout out, because it's like a lot of people see him play, and like he's really like an amazing groove player. Like his
Mhm.
groove is ridiculous, and but like I don't think a lot of people maybe see him play like the other way too, like the super, like he's super technical. Like, he's almost like fusion guy or something. I just yeah, it's just like but he got known for his amazing groove, but like it's like if you go to a Sonor clinic and he's there, and you're like, oh my God, he shreds. Like he's a shredder, you
Mhm.
know. But a lot of times, you know, I guys that are super shreddy don't necessarily pull off the amazing groove stuff. And I think he definitely lives in both worlds, and not to mention he's funny as shit and a great guy to hang out with.
He was such a fun guy to interview, and he had a great personality. He was sitting there smiling while we were kicking off the thing, and by far my favorite interview so far. And I've done some pretty cool ones.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, I could totally see that, because it's like I'm never sad when my phone rings and I see it's Tal. Like, honest to
Yeah,
God, it's just like, and I've worked with him for so long, and it's just, even before I had the business, I knew him, working at other cartage places and stuff. And so it's just, yeah, it's great that you're doing the interview about Tal, because it's like he really deserves this and more,
yeah.
more recognition, But like, that being said, I think it's kind of funny, like the guys here at the shop are all like amazing, like first call studio session players, and to the general public, no one really knows them. Like drummers know them, but like it's not like their household names, like a guitar player or a singer would be. It's just, but like these are the guys that are actually making the music today. you know
Right.
it's so yeah, it's like they all deserve shout outs, but like this is Tal's day for a shout out. So here's to Tal.
Absolutely. So what is it you do when you go to set something up for Tal in the studio? What's the nuts and bolts of that?
Like he'll basically tell me what he wants size wise because the kit has various sizes and like what he thinks he's going to need for the music, what snare drums to bring, you know, what cymbals, and then we basically go set it up and kind of get it ready for him as far as tuning goes. Like oh, it's going to be like a funk thing, so we kind of crank the snare up a little bit or whatever else. Or if it's like singer songwriter, we kind of mute the stuff a little bit, lower the toms and but just kind of get the vibe right. And Tal's great at tuning and teching his own drums too. So it's just like we're basically there to haul the stuff in, get him comfortable, and then he's very self-sufficient and
Yeah.
it kind of makes things happen fast. I mean, that's the other thing with all these guys. They become session players and they become, you know, in demand because they can listen to something once, make a couple notes, and then just go track it. And it's like, wow, that was perfect. Or change one little thing, and then they go back and do that. And it's like, okay, next. Like they can crank the stuff out. Where, it's like it's a lot of people don't realize it's such a nuanced thing, like feel and like push pull and all that. Like guys think, oh, I could play that beat. I'm like, yeah, you probably could, but it's not going to sound like that. Like when one of these guys do it. So I mean, and that's like in closing, that's like the joy of my job. It's like I get to see all these guys play, and it's just like inspiring and it's like you're in awe, and it also makes you think like maybe I should never pick up a drumstick again. But
Yeah.
no, I'll never do that. But like, yeah, but like it's definitely after being surrounded by it, it's just like you realize it's like that's why these guys are where they are in their careers because they are just above and beyond like super special. Even if they're just doing like 2 and 4 on the snare, 1 and 3 on the kick, and eights on the hat. It's just the way they do it. It just it it's great. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a very lucky individual.
Sounds like it.
Yes, I'm not a huge fan of new drums, and for like us to pull the Sonor drums out and they sounded like that was mind blowing. And like the other kit that in recent years that did that for me was the Thomas Starr series.
Yeah.
Like sent them to Erskine and we pulled them out and we're like, holy crap, like these are great drums. But Sonor has always been consistently like great.
Hmm.
You know, like even the Martini kit, I have the 13, I think it's a 13 or a 12 snare, the metal snare sounds great. And it's like their lowest level thing.
Yep.
A lot of new drums just don't blow me away. Like I don't want to slag other companies, but like I'm just talking about the times that we were wowed by new drums. It's few and far between.